So in this video, I'm going to introduce the self-defense course and give you an idea about what's involved in it and why you may or may not want to take part and take it. So the self-defense course is basically my attempt to keep all the traditional training methods of real fighting Tai Chi alive and strong in the Tai Chi community. Yeah, so we can preserve these older ancient teachings and transmit them to future generations in a high quality way. So this system of Tai Chi, if you're not already involved in it, is known as the practical system of Tai Chi. I call my system 13 dynamics because that's the really old term for Tai Chi. Before it was known as Tai Chi, it was known as 13 dynamics. So I'll use that. But yeah, the art became known as practical Tai Chi in Hong Kong, or our lineage of Tai Chi, because it was well known for being very effective very quickly for fighting, either for self-defense or for full contact fighting in competitions. I think at one point, Cheng Tin Hung, who was my teacher's teacher, the Grandmaster in Hong Kong, I think the record stood at 32 wins out of 33 fights in and around the Hong Kong full contact scene. So that's an incredible record, 32 wins out of 33 matches, yeah, on the domestic Hong Kong scene, fighting against other Kung Fu styles, Choi Fa, you know, boxing, all that stuff. So Cheng Tin Hung was an incredibly talented trainer, and he had taken what he'd learned from his uncle, Cheng Wing Kong, who was taught in turn by Wu Jinchuan, and his other teacher, Chi Min Xuan, who's a bit of a shadowy, mysterious figure, but also has links to, I believe, Quan Yu. I may be wrong about that. But anyway, Cheng Tin Hung had two teachers and became known as an extremely potent fighting man himself, and he was able to train many others to be super effective quite quickly, using his approach of what became known as practical Tai Chi Chuan. Now, there's a few reasons why he was so effective, and it basically comes down to keeping things very real and simple and direct. Yeah, so he didn't emphasize flowery training methods. For the fighters, those who wanted to learn how to fight really quickly with Tai Chi, his approach was very streamlined. It was a highly effective strength and conditioning system that he'd learned from his two teachers. There was a highly effective internal strength conditioning system, you know, the Neigong. There's another course for that available. That's an amazing system for building so many attributes. But the other part of the equation was his emphasis on training Sanshao. And Sanshao is the applications of the movements in the forms. So in the slow motion Tai Chi form, yeah, even though it's done very slowly for most people, there's a wide array of fighting techniques that you can take with a partner and practice and drill until they become super well ingrained and second nature for you. Yeah, so this is Sanshao. It's free hands, it translates to, or free fighting. Yeah, so Cheng Tin Hung, his approach that he learned from, I believe, Chi Min Xuan, was to take each of the techniques and the applications of the movements. They're very sophisticated fighting movements, but at the same time very simple. Yeah, so sometimes on YouTube or wherever else, you'll see all these fancy Tai Chi moves, and they might look clever and interesting, even to me, that sometimes they look interesting. But from my experience and on the sort of street self-defense and also full contact fighting, I think a lot of what you see in the Tai Chi world as Tai Chi applications, they would definitely fail under real world pressure testing scenarios. Now Cheng Tin Hung, what he was famous for when he was young, he was a very, what can you say, wild young man, and very willing and brave. and he will fight anyone. And apparently he would often, after class, with things that he'd learned, he would go to the bad, the rough areas, and if somebody picked a fight with him, he'd be only too happy to try out his latest movements that he's was trained in. So he was constantly trying things, constantly involved in, some different challenge matches and so on, with some well-known martial artists of the day. And his reputation was unsurpassed because he not only trained in an excellent way, an excellent Tai Chi system, but he also applied it and learned very practically what was working and what wasn't. So at the end of his learning process, and when he started to teach, he based his Sanshao training around 48 different techniques. So these were the 48 applications of the movements from the forms and some extra movements from his Tai Chi training that he learned. And these are the 48 drills that he would train all his future fighters in. So the idea is that you spend time drilling each one of these types of techniques in initially rope drilling. So the guy gives you a punch and you parry and strike back, or parry and throw, whatever it is. And then you build it up in layers of spontaneity. So you go from becoming basically familiar with the key elements of the technique, and then you move your training further along the spectrum to where you can apply it in a really spontaneous situation. So that's one of the key concepts of Tai Chi at the core, is spontaneity. So you can be completely spontaneous in your responses to things. And Cheng Tin Hung built his system up around these 48 drills, and so you just practice these regularly as possible. Ideally, you do a bit of it every day if you had the partners around. If you really wanted to hit a very high skill level, because there's a lot of different technique types. So becoming a master of Western boxing, for example, there's only a few punches, a few slips and bobs and weaves, but how many people achieve mastery in that? Very few. And then MMA, we start to add the wrestling and the groundwork and all that. It's known that people struggle to achieve high levels of proficiency in all the areas of combat, simply because there's more different things to learn. So your time is spread more thinly. So the great thing about Tai Chi, this particular system, Tai Chi, is that the applications are really simple. It's one yin, one yang. One defense, one counter. There's a heavy emphasis on evasion, on footwork, so you never meet strength with strength. You always meet oncoming strength and power with evasion, softness, diversion. And then you look for the weakest area of your opponent and you counter that with a lot of power that you've stored through your body, through your training methods and your body shapes, and boom, then you emit your power onto the opponent, whether it's a sweep, throw, strike, whatever it is. So in an ideal world, you'll do a lot of drilling, so that you really become familiar with the different techniques. And then when you see, it's like your brain does pattern recognition. So when your brain recognizes patterns, you can very spontaneously apply either exactly that specific technique that you've drilled, or you'll be able to invent a kind of a combination, because often, self-defense situations, fight situations, there's things that are very similar to things you've seen, but not exactly. But with training and training the full 48 different drills, you basically become very well versed at defending from all angles, defending punches, kicks, this, that, and the other, and being able to also counter and attack very powerfully using all parts of your body. So the syllabus includes striking and defending with all parts of the body. Knees, elbows, hands, feet, palm strikes, slaps, different style of elbows, up, down, cross, knee striking, kicking, just a lot of different striking techniques, a lot of wrestling techniques, basically all the wrestling techniques. Leg takedowns, leg throws, or leg single and double leg takedowns, body locks, spine throws, hip throws, loads of different arm locks and stuff like that. So it's a complete array of technical preparation for unarmed combat. There's only one ground fighting technique, which is like a scissor sweeping kick. Okay, but that's actually not included in this particular video course, but it is something that can be trained. But the traditional 48 techniques, they're all in this video. So these are the techniques as shown to me by Cheng Tin Hung's son. So my teacher, my main teacher, original teacher was Dan Doherty, and I learned all the techniques through him initially, and then I've done some research in recent times with Cheng Tin Hung's son, Yan, and he's shown me a few variations that were a little bit different to my original teacher, and I'm assured that those are the really old traditional applications of the art, so I've chosen to use those in the video series. Not that the other ones aren't very good, they're all excellent, but in this video series, I want to preserve the very simple, direct, and highly effective techniques of Cheng Tin Hung's approach, and what he was taught from his teachers. So that's what you will find in this video series. Now, the objective of the series is to not only preserve the techniques for those that are doing this style of Tai Chi or interested in Tai Chi in general, but also to help you guys train. So I try and give you as much information as I can in all the drills and exercises so that you can go and practice, and hopefully you have some training partners. And when you feel ready and you've done enough practice, you can come and have an assessment. We can do it online if you're not local, if you're abroad, or you can come into the gym and we do an assessment just to basically make sure that you have a solid understanding of how to do the techniques properly and effectively, and how to train well. That's equally important. And then the idea is that we can build up a network of instructors that are passionate about the benefits of fighting Tai Chi and this system of fighting Tai Chi, because it's so straightforward and direct. There's a lot of beauty in that. There's no fat in the system. It's very pure. So I'm interested in building up a network of these kinds of people. So if you're one of these kinds of people and you're interested in starting a club or starting to teach this style, then perhaps the course is for you. I mean, we'll give you as much support and help that we can from this end to help get you going. But that's essentially the objective of the course. So it's to preserve the techniques for those who simply want to maintain their understanding of what the original fighting Tai Chi techniques are, and also to help develop a network of like-minded people that want to be teaching this kind of stuff in their localities. Okay, so there you go, that's the course, and just get in touch if you have any more questions, and let's take it from there. Thank you.